You've probably seen crows in your garden and didn't pay much attention to them. But within that group, there's one crow that has been watching you longer than the others, evaluating you and almost making a decision about you. You're not aware of it yet. Crows remember faces. They hold grudges for years. A simple example is when a crow drops a walnut on the ground. If you pick it up, you're in trouble. They'll remember you and won't forget you when they get the chance. And they'll attack. They teach their children who to stay away from. But there's an aspect of crows that almost nobody talks about. What happens when they decide you're not a threat? What happens when they decide you're more than that? In this video, we'll explore how crows hold grudges and how loyal they are. Have you ever experienced an attack or the affection of a crow? Let us know in the comments. When you see a crow in your garden, you probably assume it's just passing through, looking for food, moving on. That assumption is wrong, and the degree to which it's wrong is unsettling once you understand it. Crows are not passing through. Every crow you see has a territory. A specific, memorized, constantly updated map of every food source, every predator, every escape route, and every human they've encountered. That map includes you, not people in general, you specifically. The way you walk, the color of your jacket, the time you usually come outside, all of it logged, all of it stored, all of it being used to make decisions about you every time you step outside. Most birds operate on instinct. They react to the world rather than analyze it. A sparrow doesn't think about you. It reacts to your movement, your size, your speed. The moment you're gone from its awareness entirely. Crows think about you. There is a region of the crow's brain called the pallium, the equivalent of the mammalian cortex. In crows, this region is so extraordinarily developed that neuroscientists have compared it, in relative terms, to the cortex of great apes. What this means in practice is that a crow holds a mental model of you in its head. Not just a threat signal, an actual working theory of who you are, what you're likely to do next, and how that should affect its behavior toward you. Now let's talk about grudges, because this is where most people's understanding of crows begins and ends. The walnut example is real, documented, repeatable. When a crow drops a walnut on a road to crack it with passing traffic, it's already doing something remarkable. It's using a tool it didn't build, operated by agents it doesn't control, to solve a problem that requires planning across time. Then you walk by and pick up the walnut. From the crow's perspective, you just stole from it, and the crow saw your face when you did it. Here's what happens next. The crow doesn't just remember you, it tells other crows. Researchers at the University of Washington demonstrated this directly. They wore specific masks while handling wild crows, then walked through the same area weeks later wearing those masks. The birds scolded them, dive-bombed them, told other birds about the masked face. What they hadn't expected was that birds who had never been handled joined in. The information had spread through social learning. The masked face had become dangerous in the local crow community. Not to one crow, to the group. And it stayed that way for years. One researcher reported being mobbed on a university campus for over 5 years after a single incident. The original birds had in some cases been replaced by younger birds who had learned the threat from their parents. The grudge had been inherited. A crow can teach its children to distrust a specific human face, a face it learned to distrust from a single interaction years before the child was born. This is why crow attacks feel so personal, because they are personal. If you've ever been dive-bombed by a crow, you know the experience. It's not a warning flyby. It's targeted, repeated, and escalating. Crows don't just swoop and leave. They come back, they follow, they call others in. And they aim, not randomly. They go for the back of the head, the spot you can't easily protect. They have learned, through generations of conflict, exactly where to strike for maximum effect, with minimum risk to themselves. Most crow attacks happen during nesting season. A crow on a nest has committed everything to a single outcome. It doesn't make exceptions for good intentions. It makes decisions based on proximity and perceived threat. If you walk under a nesting tree 3 times in 1 week, you are a recurring threat. The 4th time, you get struck. The solution is counterintuitive. Don't avoid the area entirely. Change something visible about yourself. Wear a hat. Change your jacket. The crow's threat file is built around specific visual markers. Change those markers and the file doesn't match. You become, in the crow's assessment, a new person who hasn't yet earned distrust. But now let's talk about the other side. The side that goes much deeper than the grudge. Trust. Crow trust is not given because you put food out. It is not given because you seem nice. It is built incrementally, across multiple interactions, over weeks or months, through a process the crow controls entirely. Here's how it starts. You begin putting food out. Unsalted peanuts work well. The first few days they watch from a distance. They don't come down while you're outside. They wait until you've gone back inside, then they check. This is the evaluation phase. Then something shifts. One crow, usually the most dominant, starts coming down while you're visible. Not close, 30-40 feet away, far enough to escape if something goes wrong, but visible to you. This is the crow presenting itself. It wants you to know it's there. It wants to see how you react. If you react calmly, no sudden movements, no attempt to approach, no direct prolonged staring, which crows read as threatening, the distance starts shrinking. Over days, over weeks, the crow gets closer. It's testing each distance increment as a separate hypothesis. Is this distance safe? Yes. Next hypothesis. Until the crow is close enough for something most people describe as one of the most surprising experiences they've ever had with a wild animal. The crow looks at you, not a quick glance, a sustained, deliberate, direct look. Eye contact held for several seconds. Scientists say this kind of mutual gaze is one of the markers of social recognition, the moment an animal acknowledges you as a specific individual rather than a category of threat. The crow has made its decision. You have a file now, and the file says, safe. What comes after that decision is where crow behavior becomes genuinely difficult to explain. Crows bring gifts, not metaphorically, physically. Objects left deliberately at the place where you feed them. A shiny button, a piece of foil, a small smooth stone. Objects that from a survival standpoint have no value whatsoever. This behavior has been documented extensively, most famously in the case of a girl in Seattle named Gabi Mann, who began feeding crows as a child and received a growing collection of small objects in return. Researchers confirmed the objects were being intentionally placed by specific crows. The behavior correlated directly with the feeding relationship. The crows that received food brought objects back. What does this mean? The honest answer is, science doesn't fully know. One interpretation is that crows are reciprocating, applying the same social logic to you that they apply to other crows in their group. In crow society, individuals who provide resources are worth investing in. The gift may be the crow's version of saying, I see you, I value this, here is something from me. Crows in established relationships with humans do things that are harder to categorize. They wait. A crow that trusts you will wait at the specific spot in your yard where you usually first appear, on the branch with a clear line of sight to your front door. They learn your schedule with the same precision they learn everything else and adjust their own schedule to match. They follow, not aggressively, in the way a companion follows. Crows who have formed strong relationships with specific humans have been documented accompanying those humans on walks, flying ahead to the next convenient perch and waiting, then flying ahead again. Tracking your movement through the neighborhood in a way that feels less like surveillance and more like company. They alert. Crows in your yard who have decided you're part of their social landscape will sometimes vocalize in your direction when something unusual is happening. A predator nearby, an unfamiliar animal, a person they've assessed as threatening. The crow seems to understand that you can hear it. It seems to expect a response. And sometimes, rarely, in relationships that have developed over years, they land on you, on your arm, your shoulder, your hand if you hold it out. This is the final threshold of crow trust. A creature that had every evolutionary reason to avoid you, that has watched and evaluated and tested you across hundreds of interactions, choosing to be physically present with you. People who have experienced it describe it as one of the most quietly profound encounters they've ever had with a wild animal. Not because it feels like having a pet, because it doesn't, because the crow chose you, freely, on its own terms. Here's what makes crows genuinely unlike almost any other wild animal you'll encounter. In controlled experiments, crows have demonstrated the ability to use tools they've never encountered before to solve multi-step problems. A crow named Betty spontaneously bent a straight wire into a hook to retrieve food from a container. She had never seen a hooked wire. She invented the solution herself. Crows have demonstrated the ability to delay gratification at levels comparable to great apes. They have demonstrated theory of mind, understanding that other individuals have different information than they do. A cognitive skill long considered uniquely human. But most relevant to your garden is this. Crows understand that their actions produce responses in others. They understand that those responses can be shaped. They know the relationship requires ongoing input from both sides. The crow shows up. It checks in. It brings its gifts. It waits on its branch. It is managing the relationship, not instinctively, intentionally. So what can you do with all of this? Start noticing. Before you try to feed them, just watch. Notice which one comes closest, which one always hangs back, which one seems to vocalize in your direction. You'll see individual personalities almost immediately. Once you see them as individuals, the relationship changes. If you want to build trust, be consistent. Pick a time, pick a spot, put peanuts there, go back inside, same time every day. Consistency is the currency of crow trust. They are pattern recognition machines. Give them a reliable pattern, and they will begin to associate you with safety. Move slowly when crows are present. Slow movement signals confidence without threat. Fast movement signals predator behavior or panic. Slow down. The crows will notice and update the file. Be patient. Crow trust operates on crow timelines, not yours. The relationship that results from months of consistent, calm, respectful presence is one that people describe as unlike any other connection they've had with a wild animal. Here's what the crows in your garden already know that you don't. They know your face. They know your schedule. They know your mood from the way you walk. They know the map of your yard better than you do. They've been watching you since before you noticed them. And somewhere in that group, there's one crow that has been watching you longer than the others, evaluating you, building a file, getting close to a decision. The question is what file you've given it to work with. Tomorrow morning, stand still near your door for 30 seconds. Don't look directly at them. Don't move toward them. Just be present. And notice which crow is already watching you, because the relationship is already happening. You just haven't been paying attention to your side of it. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had a crow attack you? Or had one come close, leave something, act in a way that surprised you? The stories people share about their crow encounters are unlike anything else in nature. I read every one of them. Nature is running quietly around you. Learn to see it. I'll see you in the next one.